Moloko, where is the illegality in this whole contract?
Well, by law, the implementation of IT services, or when provinces or national government departments want to procure IT goods or services, they must do that through the SETA, which is an agency of the national government department. So what is happening now in Limpopo is that the province is implementing the broadband rollout project worth over 500 million rand. So the province decided to create a company that's owned by the provincial government called the Limpopo Connection. Now, it is through that company that the province is now implementing this. Now, this gentleman called Lesetja Mathiba argues that it's against the SETA Act, and he argues that actually this company, Limpopo Connection, is being abused as a vehicle to capture the state. He argues that officials are giving contracts and subcontracts to their friends and relatives.
I want us to get our heads around when all of this happened. Give us an idea of the timeline.
Well, the project is underway. It is being rolled out. I think it's been just less than a year now. And it's, according to the officials there, they are telling us they are connecting schools, hospitals. Now, the problem is that the SETA Act apparently is limited. It's only limited to the national government departments and the provincial departments. It doesn't extend its mandate to the municipalities. So the department, the MEC there, Seaparo Sekwati, argues that they are now implementing Take It down to the municipalities. But also let's listen to Mr. Lesetja Mathiba, who argues that this is riddled with corruption.
They don't have that mandate to do that. The mandate belongs to SETA. The amount at the first phase was 585 million. Already 200 million has been expended on that project. However, SETA intervened and wrote to the Director General to say that this is an irregular transaction. It should not continue at all. And I've been verbose in the past to say this is not how we're going to do things. We have to follow the prescripts of the law.
Well, look, it's a terribly worrying situation, this, because 200 million rand has been spent on the project, I understand, so far. Is Mr. Mathiba, who says he now wants to go to the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, is he naming names? Are they people who he says deliberately went against the law to make sure that this contract went ahead?
Yeah. Well, he mentions the HOD of the Provincial Treasury, Mr. Gavin Brad. He also mentions the CEO of this entity. He mentions the Director General of the province, Napen Chabileng. He says these are the people who are driving this. However, he says he tried to reach out to the Premier to alert him about the alleged corrupt activities that are taking place there. And he says his pleas fell on deaf ears. Now, we obviously confronted all those people. Others ignored us. We wanted to give them a right of reply. And the rest said that the MEC, Seaparo Sekwati, is the one who's going to speak. Now, the MEC tacitly admits that indeed, when they started, they had not followed the law. But let's listen to him.
It is just a technical matter that we could not ultimately reach that agreement at that time before we could implement. However, we have not implemented connected any provincial department, and hence I'm saying our focus is not merely the provincial departments, but it's also the local government, it's also the private sector, but to make sure that all our communities are not necessarily left behind. And we believe that the minister and the Premier, through the process that they've actually started, will be able to ultimately find a way to resolve the matter.
This scandal with the IT contract has to be seen, Moloko, in the context of the bigger picture in Limpopo. Issues around poor governance and indeed corruption have dogged the province for years. At some point, departments were placed under administration. I remember around the textbook saga, the education department in Limpopo was in fact among those departments that were now being taken care of essentially by national government.
Well, the governance had virtually collapsed, and I can attribute this to the remarks by the national leaders at the time when they were taking over in 2011, and promises were made, of course, that those who would have used the state as a cash cow for their alleged corrupt activities, there are going to be special courts for such people so that they expedite the process of holding accountable those who were presiding over such alleged nefarious activities. But we haven't seen particularly senior officials being held over the coals regarding the alleged corruption and financial mismanagement that had taken place in the past. And interestingly, if this gentleman, Mr. Mathiba, says he tried to tell the Premier that there's something wrong there, and he alleges the Premier kind of like ignored him, then the problem is that the Premier, when he was brought in to replace Castle Matale, Stan Mathabata was seen as this gentleman who's going to clean the road in Limpopo province. So it would be interesting if indeed corruption is happening under his nose.
ENC reporter Moloko Moloto, thank you.